Hello, I'm Gary Adamson. I'm one of the founders of a place called Storizon Studio. For 2 decades, we've been honored to work as pioneers in the experience economy. It's been unbelievable work, transformational work. And during all that time, we have collected a lot of different knowledge, and we've written it down. The challenge of experience is huge and ongoing. And what I want to talk with you about today is a new evolution, no, revolution in experience work. You see, we've had the great opportunity to work with all kinds of companies over the past 2 decades. And they've made a lot of progress in rethinking and, more importantly, redoing the customer experience and their staff experience. But a little over 3 years ago, we took on another challenge, a challenge that seemed to be even bigger than the getting started part. Because now that we were in it, we didn't want to just have experience be something that people did. We wanted it to be something that they became. We wanted it embedded in every person and throughout the culture. We posed this question, and it's a weighty one. What would happen if you developed new leadership philosophies, principles, techniques, structures to help the people throughout your organization create the mindset, manage their priorities, focus their efforts, and implement the cultural change necessary to achieve a transformational experience? Whew. Just thinking about that makes me tired. But what I want to tell you today is that we've answered that question. We have scaled the Everest of corporate culture. And I'm here to proudly announce that this thing called the Star Chamber is a cultural game changer in every way that you could imagine. Now, soon enough, you're going to be able to be exposed to the what and the how of the Star Chamber. But for right now, I want to talk to you about the why. To understand the why of the Star Chamber is going to take some exploration. Well, and that might indicate we need to take some wisdom from explorers, people who have made breakthroughs in all kinds of fields throughout history. Maybe the best explorer on this subject, though, is Albert Einstein, who said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking we used when we created them." We need a new level of thinking. And most importantly, we need a new level of thinking about work. All of it. You don't think so? Let me show you why that's so important. First of all, let's just take the cultural view of work for a minute. What's the most depressing day of the week? Yeah, Monday. Blue Monday. Why is that? Because I have to go back to work. How about that day in the middle of the week that's been made famous now by the camel? Hump Day. Gosh, I'm almost half done with this. And then how about Friday? Thank God it's Friday. I get paroled for the weekend. Think of what that view of work is. Basically, work is a prison. And if you really do good, you get out for good behavior for a couple of days of your life. But it isn't just there that the view of work needs to be transformed. How about the analytical view of work? You know, all the surveys that we do about employee engagement, and we find, depending on the survey, up to 70% of all people are disengaged from their work. 70%. 18% are actively trying to sabotage the company they work for. They hate their work so much. There's a lot of talk, as you would imagine, in management circles about what that is and what its effect on excellence is. And that's all well and good. Imagine a crew boat with 10 people rowing in it. You'd have 3 people rowing their hearts out, 5 people just kind of looking around at the scenery, and 2 people actually throwing rocks through the bottom of the boat. How excellent can that boat's performance be? So it's no wonder that management is worried about that. We as leaders should be. But here's the thing that hasn't been talked about. Think of the personal toll hidden in those numbers. Where's the place we spend the majority of our waking hours? At work. If we're disengaged from our work, we're disengaged from our life. It's a personal tragedy. And that's why we have to change it. And in order to change all that, we've got to change our minds. We have to take a distinctively different point of view. In fact, the opposite point of view. Because we don't want people to be disengaged from work. We want them to be passionate about work. So we're going to have to reverse a number of things. The first thing that we're going to have to reverse is education. You know, a lot of education, whether it's at the corporate level or at the grade school level, is about pounding in the facts that we think are important for people to know. That's different than drawing out the wisdom that already they contain. But it isn't just the effect of education that we want to be the opposite. We want the mechanics of education to be the opposite. We want to go from the typical classroom where a whole bunch of people get together and one person lectures to them, and then they go home and try to apply it on their own through homework. We want the opposite of that. Through the STAR Chamber, people will, on their own, be exposed to cutting-edge experience and cultural education. And then when they do get together, what they're going to do is collaborate together in its application. It will be much more powerful, both for them and for the places they work. We're also going to reverse the testing. You know, in organizations now, I guess the test you could consider would be your performance review that happens once a year. We don't think that that's very good. You should be able to get feedback constantly, and not just from your boss, but from your coworkers. So through technology, we're going to be able to reverse that too. But even beyond the mechanics of education, we're going to reverse the very focus of work. We're going to reverse it from, oh gosh, it's a job, it pays the bills, or from the organization's point of view, gee, we need this task done, well, at least at a certain cost. We want to reverse that to this work that you have is an opportunity to apply your unique talents and passions to a meaningful collective cause. And when we have a cause and not a job, we're not going to have people going through the motions at work. We're going to have people going with emotion to work. We will also reverse the expectation of the future of work. And that's going to be important because when we do that, all of a sudden, what people conceive their work to be will change. The power of the opposite is powerful. Don't believe me? Take a look.
I wish my company felt more like a cause. I realize this may come as a shock, but my paycheck is more important than my work. I tell you this, once upon a time, employees and management worked together, but this will not be true in my company. This is a me-first corporate society. Experts tell me 30 years from now, I will have worked at 7 different companies. I do not concede that I will work in a company of my own making. In the future, dissension and tension will be the norm. No longer can it be said that my coworkers and I care about this company. It will be evident that, as employees, we are apathetic and lethargic. It is foolish to presume that there is a solution. And all of this will come true unless we use the power of the opposite to reverse it. There is a solution. It is foolish to presume that as employees, we are apathetic and lethargic. It will be evident that my coworkers and I care about this company. No longer can it be said that dissension and tension will be the norm. In the future, I will work in a company of my own making. I do not concede that 30 years from now I will have worked at 7 different companies. Experts tell me this is a me-first corporate society. But this will not be true in my company. Employees and management worked together once upon a time. I tell you this, my work is more important than my paycheck. I realize this may come as a shock, but I wish my company felt more like a cause.
Pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, when you reverse things. Because when you reverse things, you don't just make them a little bit different, a little bit better. You change altogether what's possible. You change the point of view, the perspective, and even the expectation of what we could make of our work. That's what the Star Chamber's about. Now, you might be wondering right now, well, who is he talking to anyway? Because there's lots of people with different views of work, at your place and at mine. Well, if you already love your work, I'm talking to you. First of all, thank you for loving it. You've discovered the magic. And be excited because there's going to be a whole host of people who very soon are going to love their work and be working right beside you. Imagine what that will mean. If you currently think your job is okay, be hopeful. Because through the Star Chamber, you're going to connect to it in a whole different way. And it will go far beyond being okay. What if you can't stand your job right now? Don't give up on it. Because when you can match your talents and your passions to your work, you'll go a lot farther in loving your job than you ever thought possible. How about if you're fighting against the very company you work for? How about if you think your company is out to get you and you're going to get them first? Well, even if that's the case, I would ask you just be open, because the Star Chamber may be the place where both you and your company get a fresh start. Over the next year, you'll harness the power of technology. You'll harness the power of experience. You'll harness the power of vibrant storytelling. But most importantly, what you're going to harness is your own personal power, your own personal belief, your own passion for your work. Your leaders have gotten a small head start. They're already applying what they've learned from the Star Chamber right now. And the reason for that is they're then going to be able to better help you when you start working on it. We're going to track all the progress in a whole variety of ways, and we're going to celebrate in every way imaginable. This work will take all of us individually and collectively. But if we want to build a culture that actually provides joy, well, it should take all of us. You know, I think Anita Roddick, the founder of The Body Shop, had it right when she viewed work, I guess, from a very opposite point of view. She said, work should be the incubator of the human spirit. I agree with her. But it's one thing to have a high philosophy about what work should be. It's quite another thing to put in all the support that's needed for it. All of the elements, all of the actions, not just the beliefs. And that's what Star Chamber intends to do. As you can tell from what we've talked about, Star Chamber isn't a program or an initiative. It's a revolution in the very concept of work. It's a cultural game changer on every level. But it's not only a revolution, it's a revelation. And this is it. Organizational excellence is always first rooted in personal excellence. Simply said, an organization can't be its collective best until each person who works there is at their personal best. That's the connection that Star Chamber is going to make. Now, when we succeed, and I'm sure that we will, people from all over the country are going to wonder about this. They're going to want to have what we're having, and they'll come and study it, and that'll be great. We'll welcome them with open arms. But the real students who will learn from this will be our kids. Because what we're going to be able to show them through this work is that work isn't just duty, it's joy. We can show them what it means to have a life's work. And that's a worthy end.